Aloha and welcome to Trust and Verify. This is our first episode on the set we intended to have done on January 1st. But we are here. All new set, all new staging. We want to bring more shit for you guys in the future. I am not in a Hawaiian shirt. I'm wearing my USA America First from the same place where you can buy the FU Lamar t-shirts, which is goldenstaterevolution.com. But first, before we get to the show, I want to explain a couple of things here. This chat that's in the middle of the screen today, that's for you guys. We know that Periscope has been a disaster all day today. And so there's not been chat working in anybody's scopes, and you guys can't see the chat, and you get pissed off. So we're just putting it over the top of our faces for you to make sure that everybody can see the chat no matter what happens. So let's get cracking. I got to introduce my friend, my partner, my co-host, the man of the hour, the myth, the legend, Boogie Bumper. Boogie, how's it going, brother?
Good, James. Good. Thanks. It's good to be with you. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Thanks, everyone, for sharing out. Don't forget, if you do miss the show or if you want to share it with other people, head to iTunes or Podbean where you can find Trust and Verify in podcast form, and then you don't have to look at James's beautiful face and my shadow. So fun for the whole family. No, I've been good, James. Good week. I'll give you a little bit of an update. We got the air conditioner installed, James. We got the air conditioner installed.
Nice.
So usually what happens after the show, let me open the kimono a little bit. What happens directly after the show is I say to James, I'm going to be back in 5 minutes. And then I open the door, go into the bathroom, and then stand over the bath and just let the liters of sweat drip off my body for about 5 minutes. And then I come back in with a cold beer. We're not going to have to do that today. So I'm very excited. We're rocking and rolling. How about you, James? How's your week been, mate?
It's been good, same shit, different day. Work, more work, and then I add my own work on after that. So, it's been good. Same as always. I'm glad to know, though, that there's a chance you may be more sober for your shows from now on because you don't have to liquefy yourself and drown alcohol in order to stay from dying of heat exhaustion. So
please,
might have to get some better shows.
James, don't be ridiculous. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Of course not. Did you watch the Oscars last night, James? I promised you a big Oscars review. Of course not.
Of course not. I didn't even realize it on until I saw people tweeting about it, and then I still ignored it.
Well, I did promise you a big Oscars review, and we are joined by the lovely Ryan Seacrest, James R. himself. So what a perfect moment to go through it. You remember, James, there was the big hoo-ha-ha, the big boo-ha-ha, the big barnstormer about who was going to host the Oscars, and it was Kevin Hart, you'll remember, who upset a whole bunch of people, most of which weren't gay, about some kind of homophobic slurs that he put out on Twitter a while ago. And I was thinking, he decided not to do it. I don't even know who hosted the Oscars. I couldn't tell. It should have been Ryan Seacrest. Anybody else is like a second-tier host, in my opinion. So I thought, well, let's go to our favorite publication, Salon, and see just how the Oscars were received and how they hope to fix this problem in the future. James, check this out. Let's never have an Oscars host again. Let's get rid of everyone. Let's get rid of everyone. It's not as silly as it sounds, because in the era of offense, James, in the age of the victim, everybody is a potential figure of hatred and bigotry. I mean, if you get a white guy, you're going to upset everybody. If you get a white woman, you're going to upset the black women. If you get a black woman, you're going to upset the trans black women. If you get a trans black woman, you're going to upset the white men. So what better solution than to just have nobody up there, have air? Like, that's not going to be offensive at all, is it? The case for nobody. Our favorite Oscar host is the one who isn't there. Do you think we've reached peak diversity now, where you just literally have to have no one? Like, that's the safest bet. I'm actually looking forward to the Democratic presidential campaign of 2036, James, where they're just going to have nobody. Like, we don't have anybody diverse enough to run for president, so we're just going to have nobody now. I think that'd be fun.
I think they should time up. They should bump that timetable up to 2020. Go for ultimate diversity now, Democrats. Don't run anybody. That's it. There you go. That's your ultimate diverse candidate. No one.
Well, we'll get there. We are going to talk about 2020. I've got something for you. After the garbage fire of Kevin Hart's appointment as host of the 2019 awards and withdrawal from the role a mere 6 hours later, it was unsurprising that the Academy decided this year to go entirely without a master of ceremonies. Hart's reversal had come on the heels of an outcry over his past homophobic jokes on Twitter, behaviour he apologised for in his announcement about stepping down. That whiplash about face soon left fans, critics and the Academy itself wondering if a suitably entertaining but uncontroversial choice for the role could even exist in our current controversy-fueled climate. James, once upon a time you used to get picked for these kinds of roles if you were entertaining, yes, but, you know, liked by a lot of people, if you had some kind of talent for it. Remember Billy Crystal hosted it for like 50 years in a row? Do you remember that?
Yeah, he actually used to do a good job. Like, nobody gives a shit about the Oscars, but he was at least funny.
That's right. That's right. And correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Billy Crystal Jewish? So, you know, yeah, there's your diversity quota. Oh, wait. No, wait. A lot of people in Hollywood are Jewish. Oh, shit. If only he was black. If only he was black and had a vagina, then, you know, then he would be perfect. But not now. So
really good. He was really good friends with Whoopi. Does that qualify?
That's close enough. That's close enough, I think. But this is the stupidity of the time that we're living in. Entertaining but uncontroversial. Uncontroversial. So, you know, people like, here's a news flash for, you know, people who are in the corporate press and in the entertainment industry, and they're looking at their revenue going through the floor. They're looking at, you know, some movies are opening with, you know, 10% of projected box office takings and stuff, and they don't understand why. I don't know why. We've got all the big stars. We've got all of the people that we've told the public are stars. So I don't understand why they're not flocking to the cinema. People like controversy. People like to have a little bit of danger in their life. You know, one of the most popular things was Ricky Gervais hosting, what's the baby Oscars that goes on? Is it the Golden Globes? Remember that for a couple of years?
Sure.
Yeah. And they had Ricky Gervais up there roasting everybody, and that was fun. Everybody loved it, right? So we're living in a time now where they want everything to be bland and, you know, it's got to be genderless, automaton, bland, grey, you know, minutiae of averageness. And if you stand out, you're going to be a problem. And if you're, you know, if you're charming or charismatic in any way, then you need to be controlled. And as they tighten their grips on society through their cultural arteries, like Hollywood, like the mainstream press, like education, and attempt to smother anything that's slightly different and slightly askew or slightly that even challenges their authority in any way, shape, or form, then they're becoming less and less relevant. Like, we used to worry about the culture wars, right? I think they're going to end up killing themselves. They're going to do, is it Hari Kari, right? Throw themselves on their own sword at this point. What do you think?
Absolutely. You know, it's so funny to me that you actually bring this up, because I really had no idea. And just, you know, we've told you guys all before, we never discuss the show ahead of time. It keeps it live. It keeps it natural. It keeps things rolling, you know, so we don't discuss what's going on. So I had no idea he was going to bring this up, but funny he should, because I literally over the last 2 days between yesterday and today was like, you know what we need to do? We need to get a comedic show going right here on these channels right now. And I was literally going to think, you know what? I should DM Terrence Williams. I should just DM Terrence Williams and tell him, hey, look, buddy, you need to do a comedy show. You're doing great at what you're doing, but I know you want to break into comedian stuff. I know you want to do the bigger stuff. So let's do an hour, and I will donate my time for at least a month to you to get you on your feet, get you set up, get you whatever you need to do. Well, you can find another producer, whatever you want to do, because it's your show, but I will help you. And I think, you know what? I'm going to do that now. We need to get these guys. And if anyone out there knows, like people like Dennis Miller, conservative comedians, that we can just, you know, I'll produce for you for free for a whole month and get you completely set up, turnkey operation. And then you can decide who you want to produce that show from that point forward. I mean, dude, it doesn't cost anything to do this, really. There's equipment costs, right? And so, and there's talent. Obviously, you need to know what the hell you're doing, but there's not a lot of cost involved other than paying for your internet and all those kinds of things and computers that break and things like that. But that's just equipment. As far as the actual doing, right, there's not a lot of investment involved. So I think that's what we should do. I think, let them. Roseanne's got her things going. I agree. If Roseanne wants to do an hour, I'll produce for them too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care, whatever it takes, because I think we actually need these types of things to just start rolling, man. Let's do this. Let's roll this big network type stuff out, because the people want to do it. The people are craving this. And even the left, you have people on the left saying, what the fuck is wrong with you that you have to put nobody up because you don't want to offend anyone? I mean, the whole point of comedians is to roast everybody.
Yep.
Like, literally, if you can't make fun of me, like, literally, this is the funniest shit. Like, we've talked about this before. All you guys in the audience, all of my followers, you all call me Mr. Miyagi. I've had memes of me as Arnold in Happy Days. This shit is hilarious, and it's funny. See, this is like getting people to talk to each other about sensitive subjects, ripping on people over sensitive subjects, so that we can get it out there in the public zeitgeist and talk about this shit, so that you don't have these crazy fuckers on the left doing MAGA hate crimes at 2 a.m. in a polar vortex and saving their Subway sandwich.
Yeah, James, they're killing comedy. They're killing the spontaneous. And I would put it to you, my progressive comrades, here's a choice for you. Do you want to go on for the rest of your life safe in the knowledge that you'll never be offended by anything? Right? Because what does that entail? What does that actually mean? That means no more surprises. That means no highs or lows. And, part of life and part of being, a thinking, well-rounded human being is being able to experience things like offense. If you never feel offended, if you never step into a room with a comedian and understand that there's going to be a danger there, like you might hear something a little bit naughty, you might hear something dangerous, you might hear something, dare I say, offensive, then what's the point of sitting in the crowd in the first place? That's right. Why you're going. That's to live, right? And they're trying to kill that. They're trying to wrangle the last remaining oxygen out of comedy, because comedy's dangerous to these people. And we used to make jokes about comedians in the Soviet Union, having their jokes pre-approved by the Politburo, so they don't say anything too dangerous about the government. Well, look what's happening in the West now. There is a fatal flaw with your plan, though, James. Your unsolicited call for comedians to join you in Ryan Seacrest to host another show. Fucking won't that be wonderful? I
only do it for a month, Boogie. Don't worry. I said only do it for a month, and then they can decide what to do from there.
There is a fatal flaw in your plan, though, James. In terms of equipment, comedians have no money. And in terms of, just an hour a week, comedians are incredibly lazy. So it's already going to fail. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
What's even crazy, though, is seriously, think about this. You and I could help these guys out. I mean, look, a lot of these guys, like I just saw across the screen, and by the way, I did see your comment, lovely Elaine. She said she would never meme me. She's an awesome person. But I would say this, is that Randy Quaid, funny as shit. He knows about working in front of green screens. We can do all of that high-tech shit right here on the fucking internet. We don't need fucking $1 million studios. You just need a fucking green screen, do your thing, give me the background clip, and we're up and running, man. We could do anybody that's still out there that's funny. So I think we could really set some stuff up.
Well, set the wheels in motion, and if the Trust and Verify heads out there want to help us out, then please do so. Well, help James out anyway, because he needs another show. He needs to be involved in another project at all costs. If he's not soliciting unpaid work at record levels, he will literally die. So keep him alive. Keep him alive. James, speaking of people literally dying, I want to throw up a quick little clip for you here. I thought this was fun. This lovely young lady at a CNN town hall, did you see this? Bernie Sanders fires back at Trump over socialism. She asks Bernie Sanders, can you put it in simple terms why socialism is better than capitalism? And I think you'll be interested in the answer. Check this out.
Senator Sanders, can you make a simple, persuasive case as to why socialism is preferable to capitalism?
Pretty straightforward question.
Socialism, right?
Democratic. Democratic socialism, not socialism. Democratic socialism. Okay.
Let me
So
tell you
this is what they had in Venezuela. You realize that, right? They're eating their fucking cats and dogs. That's democratic socialism. Just so you're clear about that, Mr. Bernie.
Yeah, we can say, hey, Maduro was voted in. Chavez was voted in. You know, just like people like Bernie say, Hitler was voted in, you know. They voted for Hitler too.
Right now, we have a nation which prides itself on a lot of political rights.
Okay, just remember the question here, because you're going to forget the question in about 90 seconds of this answer. You're going to be like, wait, what the fuck was the question again? What the hell is this guy talking about? The question is a simple, persuasive case why socialism is preferable to capitalism. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a snippet of the upcoming Democratic primary, okay?
In other words, under the Constitution, thank God you have freedom of speech. Media can do its thing, even though Trump calls you an enemy of the people. How does that feel to be an enemy? That's another story. All right. I won't question Wilson.
You don't think we are, though?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I certainly do not. So we have political right, freedom of religion, and all of that is enormously important. But you know what we don't have?
What?
We don't have guarantees regarding economic rights. And way back in
We don't have guarantees regarding economic rights?
We do.
What? Exactly. Of course you do. Of course you do. If you work at a job and you agree in a contract with your employer, that contract is enforceable by law, right? There you go. What more do you want? Isn't that guaranteed economic protection right there, James? What am I missing?
How about opportunity? How about all of the equal opportunity laws? Like literally, you cannot be discriminated against to do any job, no matter what gender you are in this crazy fucked up world, the 56 genders or whatever the hell there are. I don't want to misgendering, but fuck, there's a lot of genders now according to the left. It's equal opportunity to work, no matter whether you're a male or a female or what the fuck. And it doesn't matter what color you are. And I can even tell you that look at my face, right? I'm an Asian guy.
Uh-oh.
I've had jobs my whole motherfucking life. So there's obviously laws that make people hire people. Like, this is ridiculous shit. There's so many laws to protect employees now. And then think about what added is there with the union. We can't fire these worthless pieces of shit in our government because of union fucking rules. Are you kidding me to say some bullshit like there's no economic? And by the way, this is the big one. This is it's one of the only countries, but it's one of the best to do it in, where if you have a good idea and you want to work your ass off, even if you're a broke motherfucker, you can still make it rich. There are plenty of successful people in this world that have went from zero, homeless, to fucking damn near and millionaires. So where else are you going to do that? It didn't happen in Venezuela because they're eating their fucking cats and dogs.
James, I didn't know you were an Asian guy. Do you know there's never been an Asian host of the Oscars? Maybe we should get you hosting the Oscars. Check a diversity box. It's good to have an Asian friend. It's good to have an Asian friend, James. But unfortunately, you know who also had Asian friends? Hitler. Hitler had Asian friends too. Just can't win. We just can't win. Let's carry on with a bit more Bernie. Feel the burn.
In a little known, a little publicized State of the Union speech, Franklin Delano Roosevelt said something, and I'm paraphrasing him, but he said, when we talk about human freedom and rights, we've got to understand that everybody needs a decent paying job, that people need health care, that people need education.
Okay. Franklin D said everybody needs a decent job, apparently. He's paraphrasing. Did Franklin D say the government needs to find everybody a decent job? Yeah, like, do you see the difference here? Well, everybody needs a decent job. Great. How about we lower regulations and abolish things like minimum wage so more people can get jobs? Wouldn't that be a great idea? No, we need more regulations. Everybody needs to be working for the government. You see, I've got a dream. I have a dream, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the socialist Martin Luther King. I have a dream. I want everybody working for the government, James, and everybody paying 100% tax to pay the wages for everybody working in the government. See how it works? I work, I earn a wage, I pay tax, that pays your wages. You work, you pay a tax, that pays my wages. What could go wrong? Everybody wins. Everything's covered. Everything's paid for. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, I tell you. Remember, this is a simple and persuasive case why socialism is better than capitalism. Let's carry on.
And all over the world, these ideas are taking place. You go to countries in Scandinavia.
There it is.
Is a right.
The Scandinavian countries again. Yes, the utopia of Sweden, James, where hand grenade attacks outnumber people on the, adult benefits pension, right? Every day in Malmo, people are getting their arms and legs blown off by hand grenades, really testing out that free healthcare. But I forget which leader it was. I think it was the Prime Minister of Denmark who actually came out and said, Bernie Sanders doesn't know what he's talking about. We are not a socialist country. But they keep using it anyway. You're a socialist. Shut up, Denmark. I know better than you. You are socialist, damn it. You are socialist.
Higher education is free. They have strong preschool
it's not free.
Programs.
They have strong preschool programs, James. Strong preschool. This is why, remember, this is why socialism is better than capitalism, because in Norway, they have good preschools. Sign me up. Where do I sign up? I can't believe. Oh my God, I'm a socialist now. Woo! Yeah, baby. Woo!
I would say it might be Denmark. It's one of those quote unquote Scandinavian countries. They have 70% income tax.
Mm-hmm.
70%. What? I mean, and people are just, they think that's normal over there.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
They also have some of the highest rates of depression and suicide in the known universe as well. Believe it or not. I wonder why. I don't know why. What happened to that free healthcare? Where's that free healthcare, baby?
Make sure that their elderly folks can retire.
I'm really sold on the good preschools argument, though, because I want to see, millions and millions and millions of blonde-haired, blue-eyed Norwegian and Swedish preschoolers painting hammer and sickles in finger painting class, don't you? I think that would be absolutely sensational.
Higher indignity. These are not radical ideas. So what democratic socialism means to me is having in a civilized society the understanding that we can make sure that all of our people live in security and in dignity.
Okay, so there you go. Unfortunately for Bernie, he cancels out his own argument, James, because he said in a civilized society, and then he goes on to spend the rest of this town hall saying how uncivilized Donald Trump and his supporters are. So sorry, can't have socialism. You fucked that up, Bernie. Sorry about that. Do you think it's a microcosm, James? Maybe let's go to another article and then I'll kick it to you and see what you think. Go bold like Trump. Democratic presidential candidates have decided. So going left is now called going bold because we're constantly redefining language here. Going full socialist, we're just being bold and brave. Tear down the border wall, pay slavery reparations, upgrade every building in America. Tax the assets of rich people and pack the Supreme Court with 4 new liberal judges. The newest class of Democratic presidential candidates has been swinging for the fences in recent weeks by embracing or entertaining a head-snapping list of policies that were either rejected or ignored by the party's previous standard bearers. In the first months of the nomination race, big plans and audacious ideas have so far proved more attractive than pragmatism and caution, even as candidates have carefully avoided committing themselves to all the legislative details of the Green New Deal climate change proposal or upending the 150-year-old structure of the nation's highest court. Just fucking change the court. Who cares? 150 years? Pfft, that's like a cup of coffee in socialism world. What matters, candidates increasingly say, is demonstrating, quote, ambitious goals and political courage. Yes. You know why? Because it's so fucking brave to get up on stage and say, I just want to give everything to everybody and have free stuff and good preschools because we need to have empathy and fight for racial justice. It's like, oh my God, you're so brave. Oh my God, tears. Bernie Sanders should be hosting the Oscars with this acting. And they are doing what they can every day on the trail. And the award goes to another fucking capitalist. What they can every day on the trail to show their credentials as visionaries, James. Visionaries.
It's easy to see the past, isn't it?
Isn't it? Oh, it's impractical. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, it's all this. Senator Cory Booker, a.k.a. Spartacus, told voters on his maiden trip to Iowa this month when asked about plans promoted by House Liberals to fight climate change. If we used to govern our dreams that way, we would have never gone to the moon. Yeah. It's too hard. Like that's the new argument now. That's the new argument. Of course we can rebuild every single building in America. We put a man on the moon, didn't we? Same thing. Same thing, mate.
Oh, shit.
There you go.
All right. So first of all, what was the question Bernie was supposed to answer again? I forgot.
It's making a simple and persuasive case why socialism is preferable to capitalism. Don't you think he did a good job? I mean, he talked about the preschools.
Yeah, see, that's what they do. They dumb us down with bullshit to where we go to sleep. We're like, what did he say? I don't care. Just shut up. What'll make him shut up and go away? Oh, here, you want $5? Here you go. Now shut up and leave me alone. Look, this article that you just read, was there any quote as to who was pitching the pack the court? Is there any mention as to who that brilliance came from?
I don't think any candidate has come out, but it's funny you say that. I'm not going to cut you off, but I have noticed that angle being pushed by the corporate press in the last 2-3 weeks. And we do have a guy coming up, a potential dark horse who is open to the idea as well. And I think that's why he's going to be the media darling. So, but we'll get to him. But I can't put a quote to anybody. I can't put a quote to anyone.
I think all of us on the Trump train right now need to make a firm and loud scream on the internet that says, you can't pack the court. That would be un-American. And then when all the left, all of them, and all the mainstream media pushes how much they can do it, then we go, beautiful. Okay, Trump, go pack the court.
Exactly.
You want to fuck around and find out? Let's fuck around and find out.
Yeah, like, I don't know, packing the court. Ooh, yeah, I see what you're saying. But, you know, I really don't think conservatives will want to do it. See, this is the problem. If you're fighting for principles, you can always be outflanked by people who have no principles and are just fighting for power. And so the challenge is to make the principles sexier than the power, which is very difficult, of course, because people lust for power, James. You know, I can't remember who said it. I was having a conversation on Twitter not long ago, and a person made a comment along the lines of, you know, I don't understand. These people get into these positions and they change and they become bloodthirsty for power and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, I think you're actually looking at it backwards. I think their personality is what makes them seek out these positions of power in the first place, right? Because they are bloodthirsty, because they lust for power, because they want to control everybody. But let's kick it this way. Let's shift it this way. Here's an interesting one for you, James, the New York Times. Have you got something in the chat or?
No. I was saying, okay. I was agreeing with you and saying, yes, they're sociopaths. That's true definition there of what a sociopath is. That they all do that socialistic and sociopathic behavior. But real quick in the chat, there is a bunch that keep saying, yes, you can go to Golden State Revolution and you can get this shirt right here, USA, America First, or you can go get a Fuck You Lamar t-shirt on the pirate radio, or you could get a Ladies of Liberty t-shirt. He's got a bunch of shit there. So if you guys are interested, go over to Golden State Revolution. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. No, anytime you want to shill, James, that's fine. Just stop the whole show. No problem. Ryan Seacrest, ladies and gentlemen.
Chill. You call me Seacrest. That's right. Ryan Seacrest. He's selling hair gel from. He's got. Wait. I screwed it up. I got to sell the jewelry. Can you go over one? Buy this chain. Don't forget your Sony headset. What else can we shill?
Excellent. I actually want to get to a point where somebody from another country watches this show and is like, who is Ryan Seacrest? Oh, I like this man, you know? I like this Ryan Seacrest, man. We've been talking about this for so long. And in the aftermath of the midterms, James, I was presenting this argument, you know, it seems like every single week. Before the midterms, we were talking about how the Democrats were doing very well in purple districts, presenting people who are like Republican light, okay? Veterans, people running on very, very moderate platforms. We've then, since the midterms, James, haven't we been talking about why the moderate wing of the Democrat Party needs to protect itself against the hard left, because the hard left is going to be dragged, I mean, like this, like the Washington Post, right? Go bold, you know, reparations, 80% taxes, tax all of the assets, everything like that, all of the really far left stuff. The moderates of the Democrat Party who have two brain cells to rub together know that this is suicidal, because in a presidential campaign, they're going to be presenting voters with a clear one choice or the other. Like it's either this person or it's that person. And for better or worse, the person running for president in a presidential campaign in regards to congressional candidates, by and large, not always, but by and large represents the party in the mind of the voters, right? A lot of people will take presidential issues and apply it to their local politics, rightly or wrongly. You know, they probably shouldn't. Local politics is different, obviously, to a presidential campaign, but you can't help it, right? You can't help it. It's always going to be a reflection on some level. So we've been talking about why the moderates are now, you know, feverishly trying to protect their left flank against these hard left socialists, because they're going to drag the whole party to the left, and all of those gains that they made in the midterms in the House are potentially at risk, because we're talking about hand-picked Democrat Party candidates who are Republican light, who sit on very, very, very small margins of victory, like less than 1%, less than 2%, less than 3%. There's dozens in this area, right? And they are potentially, you know, going to be flipped back if the candidate for the Democratic presidential race is, you know, somebody who's so far left that buses don't go there. So look at this. In conservative districts, Democrats have to answer for the party's left wing. In the suburbs of Salt Lake City, Representative Ben McAdams, a freshman, was grilled by constituents about the socialism and anti-Semitism that they saw coming out of the new Democratic House. How long do you intend to ride the train with those people? One Utahan asked. In Michigan, Representative Haley Stevens was asked about her ability to counter what one voter deemed the bigotry of some of her freshman colleagues, a concern fueled partly by remarks from her counterpart in nearby Detroit, Rashida Tlaib, and the, quote, negative attitude they bring to Democrats. On a rainy Saturday in Spotsylvania County, Virginia, one woman stood up in a town hall to remind Representative Abigail Spanberger that while she was the first Democrat to hold the seat in nearly 50 years, the majority of the rural enclave had voted Republican. Quote, since the Democrats are now the party of death and taxes, the woman said, as Democratic supporters scoffed and grumbled, just how do you propose to effectively represent the taxpayers of Spotsylvania? It was Democrats like Mr. McAdams, Ms. Stevens, and Ms. Spanberger who secured the party's House majority. Political moderates who won districts often long represented by Republicans, James. Of the 67 Democrats in Congress's freshman class, roughly a third prevailed in districts where Trump won in 2016. These are red flags for the Democrat Party. This is dangerous stuff for the DNC. They know. Forget the Confidence Act. The Confidence Act on TV, when these people, well, we're very confident. No, the reason we won is because people are ready to shift away from Donald Trump. Everybody hates Donald Trump so much. They love our new Democratic movement. They love our new push to the left. Garbage. It is utter garbage. It is grade A bullshit. And it's like someone trying to con you when you're playing cards, right? Like he sits back, he throws twice as he doubles your bet, and then he leans back in his chair and puts his arm on his chair like this, and he doesn't even look interested in what he's doing. And 90% of people go, "Wow, he must know he's going to win this hand. He must have a full house or something like that." Trust me, 9 times out of 10, the guy's a joker and he's got shit. He's trying to push you away. He's trying to push you off his hand. That serves as another indication, James, that the Democrats will have to comfort the intra-party tussle between liberals and moderates. What have we been saying for now 8 months? To decide what they stand for, whom they appeal to, and where their electoral future lies. James, the inner tussle of the Democrat Party, trying to protect themselves against the hard left. And I think, it's not for me to say what people should do because I can't get involved in American politics, but if I were an agitator on the Republican side, like, here's the thing, they're already cutting each other down. Like, the negative press that's coming out, that's Democrat Party inspired. That's coming from Democrats against Democrats in the Democratic press, right?
I completely get, 100%. First, let me start with this. We need to fact check that Spotsylvania is an actual real place. I think you might have stumbled into the Onion, but I know that was from the New York Times, that there's actually a place that somebody called Spotsylvania. First of all. Second of all, you're absolutely right with the Democrats, and this is what makes Donald Trump a freaking genius. And here's why. We're highlighting every day on Twitter, and the president is highlighting every day how the Democrats are all going for this socialism. They're literally not voting for the rights to protect a baby from being killed after birth. That just happened today. These people are being highlighted by the president every day as completely radical. And all of those people in Spotsylvania, they have a Democrat who can't hide from the fact that he's voting with these crazy people.
Correct.
And now the people there, people in those districts, those guys all won because they lied. Those guys all won because they lied to their constituents and said, no, we are the Democrats you were raised with. We are the blue dog Democrats. We are the Reagan Democrats. We just need to make sure we have a check on unbridled Republican power, right? So the people bought their bullshit. Enough of them. I know there's fraud. I know all of that. We're talking about, look, let's take away all that and let's just look at what happened. They won by 1,000 votes. I mean, like, these things were marginal because they were able to sell to enough people that they were blue dog Democrats. But the president and us right here, this is your job on Twitter, on Periscope. You're not letting those people move away from the fact that they are radical. Their agenda is radical, and they are all trying to kill us. If the Democrats win, we're all dead. That's no shit. AOC said it herself. That literally we have to think, this is what AOC said, we have to think whether it should be legal, really, to have any more children, because the population is too much. The planet, we all need to become vegans. We need to do away with cow farts. So we can't eat cows anymore because we got to get rid of all the cows because they fart too much. So we can't have meat. We got to get rid of the airplanes too. We can't fly anywhere. We're going to have trains. We're going to put a train to Hawaii. We're going to make sure that we got some kind of weird tube that flows through the ocean to get from one side to the other. Like, these people are this insane. And we're highlighting it every day. All these blue dogs, they're not blue dogs. And they're proving it because they're voting with the crazies that just voted to not protect born alive infants. I don't care if you're a doctor. I don't care if you're a nurse. I don't care if you come to me and you tell me we would never kill a baby that was viable. It would never happen. I don't give a shit. That's not what we're arguing. We're arguing that politicians didn't vote to protect life. That's a big fucking deal.
Yeah, and a good question in the chat, James, but how many people are paying attention to politics? I would say, quite obviously, not nearly as many as they should, but also a lot more than what used to. So, it's moving in the right direction. But the beauty of this is, people I find are often turned off by hyperbole, right, in politics. They really They really say, oh, calm down. Even if what you're saying is true, if it sounds hyperbolic, they won't believe you. That's been my experience anyway. The beauty of this is you don't have to be hyperbolic when framing the current movement of the Democrat Party. You can actually understate it, and it's bad enough. And that's going to have repercussions. And like I said, if the New York Times is printing articles like this for a reason, because they know the danger that the hard left poses. And, people out there going, oh my God, like Democrats who don't care about, moderate or far left as long as Donald Trump loses, they're cutting their nose off to spite their face. And they're, oh my God, I love Ocasio-Cortez. She's so beautiful. She's so gorgeous. She's so smart. Yeah. Oh, okay. You know what? All of her ideas are fucking batshit crazy. But who cares? Because we're taking down the Trumpster, baby. We're taking down the bigots. Yeah, that's all that matters. It's going to come back to bite them in the ass big time. And you know what? Again, I'll say it again. I have more sympathy, would you say, historically with Republican Party policies than I do Democrat Party policies, put it that way. But I'm not somebody that wants to live in a one-party state either. Like, the same applies here in Australia. Like, if there wasn't a left-wing party, if there wasn't a centre-left party in Western politics, we would have to invent one. Do you know what I mean? So this might be the moment. This might be the moment for the Democrats, the clearing out that they need. This might be the burning of the field to let regeneration happen. And it can go two ways, right? It can either go the way of, coming back to reasonable, coming back to rationality, like where we were, say, 60, 70 years ago, where we agreed basically on everything except, labor relations and economics, but everything else was understood. We're all on the same page. And now they've gone completely off script. It might come back to that, or they can sow the seeds of their own demise and go further left and then just become, they'll be local. They'll be at the big city party. So they'll control, half a dozen to 10, maybe big city centers, and the rest of the country will hate their guts, entirely. Here's an interesting one for you, James, from SE Cup. Speaking about how the Democrats are going after their own, check this out. This is a moment of honesty, like an alcoholic having a moment of clarity, James, where it all makes sense. Oh my God, I'm ruining my life. What the hell am I doing here? I need to give up the drink.
It's 2020 right now. Don't adjust your clocks. It may say it's 2019 on the calendar, but if you needed any proof that the 2020 presidential election is right here, right now, just take a look at this.
Government is supposed to be for the people and by the people and all.
You know
for the
what's
people.
Interesting about this group is I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yep, that's the problem.
I know what I'm doing. You come in here and you say it has to be my way or the highway. I don't respond to that.
Well, that was California Senator Dianne Feinstein getting schooled by
Now a member of the hard right, James, Dianne Feinstein, you'll be pleased to know.
children on the Green New Deal in a now viral video. What's that got to do with 2020? Well, you'll be shocked to learn that an unedited version of that video exists, which, in context, makes the senator look less like the villain in Hansel and Gretel. But
actually, I'm shocked to know that CNN is actually talking about an unedited version of a video that makes somebody look bad. I guess they're talking about a Democrat. Because remember the unedited version of the Covington thing, right? Remember that? Remember the unedited version of, any number of incidents where they're like, oh my God, the Trump racist bigots, the Nazis, how can they do this? They hate the press. They want to kill everybody. There's an unedited version. We apologize for the unedited version. Okay, who's up next? Sports. Ryan Seacrest, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us, So anything to get off it. But on this topic, they couldn't wait to tell you that there was an unedited version of the video out there. Isn't that fun? Isn't that the darndest thing? Journalistic ethics, James. They come and go.
it's just one example of recent Dem-on-Dem crime.
Ooh.
In this case, environmental activists confronting the California Democrat and
I thought the most recent example of Dem-on-Dem crime was the Jussie Smollett saga. Who would have thunk it? They were hired, though, so we don't really know.
I know we're not going to go here. So did you see the meme out there that said, because it was Oscars night, and since I am Mr. Seacrest, the meme was that congratulations, special award goes to Jussie Smollett for hiring 2 black actors to play traditionally white.
Well done. Well done.
Posting her edited and seemingly smug response on social media. And this kind of stuff is only going to heat up as Democrats try to out-left each other on and off the campaign trail and prove their progressive bona fides.
There you go. Cuppy Wup gets it, James. Cuppy Wup can see it. Everybody can see it.
This is a fight for the heart and soul of the Democratic Party, yes, but it's also, may I remind you...
Like, we were only telling you this 9 months ago, that this is exactly what would play out. This is exactly the conversation that they would be having on the left.
Supposed to be a fight for the White House. This kind of stuff isn't a good look. Just take a look at some of the latest headlines from the campaign trail. Bernie once praised bread lines 40 years ago. Amy Klobuchar ate a salad with a comb in 2008. Kamala Harris says she won't apologize for prosecuting child molesters. Well, I would hope not. Reparations to become the new litmus test for Democrats.
They're destroying their own candidates before the presidential race. Look at it. You can see it in live time, James. It's happening right in front of your eyes. They are destroying their own before the guy or girl or, non-binary conforming even gets a chance to face off against the biggest threat to our time and age, Donald Trump. Like, how short-sighted is this?
Well, I don't think it's short-sighted at all, believe it or not. Like, I understand your point.
Go for it.
But the Democrat Party and the media, they know that all those people they're taking down, the party itself. I said this at the beginning when everybody started saying these names. I said, these people this isn't the candidate. They know this. Their own party will not allow these people to win. So they're just out there, and they're literally out there to drive the narratives, and they're setting the table. They're out there to energize their tiny little bases, and they're all going to throw their support behind. In my opinion, I said this very long time ago. You can go back and watch, and my longtime supporters will tell you. I said, watch, Michelle Obama's going to come out of the woodwork. Why? Because she can bring the only superstar the Dems have. It sucks. We all fucking hate him, but the only people that the left loves to keep sucking his dick is Obama. So I'm just telling you, and they might start to suck on Michelle's a little bit too, but this is just the way it's going to go. They're going to bring out the big hitters, those people. And it might be a dark horse as well, like you, but I don't think so. I think that all the strategy, if you look at all the little plays that they did, all the things that they set up right after the election, the way they had Michelle on this world tour with Obama, the media was focusing towards Barack, but you could see, why was she speaking at all of these engagements? Why was she out there getting campaign donations? Why was she the one being courted? And now she's gone in hiding, right? Radio silence. This is how the Dem playbook works. They sit back. Think about it like this. Where the fuck did Obama come from in 2008? Left fucking field. Nobody had ever heard of him.
Exactly.
Right? It was going to be Hillary against John McCain. And then where? Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Fuck you, Hillary. We're going with the super delegates, and Barack Obama just got it. And what happened? Just think about this. This is a Democrat playbook. I'm telling you right now. Michael Obama is going to be running. You watch.
Okay. I'm not saying it won't happen. I disagree at this point, but I'm so glad you hit that analysis, because that's exactly where I was going next. None of these people can win. None of them.
Yep.
Cory Booker cannot beat President Trump. Elizabeth Warren cannot beat President Trump. Kamala Harris cannot beat President Trump. Joe Biden cannot beat President Trump. They know it. None of these people can win. But dark horse, right? What was the most successful play in recent history that the Democrats ever pulled? It was getting a no-name out there, a charismatic no-name who not only was a great speaker, but here's the key. The person that they got to win in 2008, like, we know the story, we can look back now, right? But in 2007, James, the person that was running was somebody who appealed to a broad spectrum of voters, right? And a broad spectrum of issues, okay? Because it's like, if you're a race for the leader of the country, whether it's like a prime minister, it's a bit different, but president. If you own a restaurant in a town and there's 3 types of food that people like, let's say tacos, watermelon, and hamburgers. Okay, 3 kinds of foods. You open a restaurant. If you're only selling tacos, you're only appealing to 33% of the people in the town. If you only sell watermelon, you're only appealing to 33% of the town. If you only sell hamburgers, but if you sell all 3, you maximize the traffic coming into your restaurant. You're going to be the biggest restaurant in town. And then that's why I tend to think more dark horse than Michelle Obama, because they will be thinking, can we get somebody without any baggage, somebody who can shoot onto the scene at the last minute, wipe it, and then, knock the Trump campaign off guard, like knock them off their balance because they won't know how to attack somebody. There's also the problem that Democrats need to fix is that they need to appeal again to young voters. Now, if you look, Elizabeth Warren, old lady, Bernie Sanders, old man, Joe Biden, old man, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, youngish, yeah, but too divisive to appeal to a broad spectrum of voters. Look at this guy. My attention first got drawn to this guy 2 weeks ago, James. I saw an op-ed in the New York Times writing about this, and I'm like, who the hell is Pete Buttigieg? And since that op-ed, he's been getting constant press, at least daily, in like all of the satellite publications, your Slates, your Salons, your New York Times, Washington Post, right? His name is being circulated very quickly. And you might say, well, this is impossible, this is ridiculous, but there's little things to take note of here. Pete Buttigieg may have just found a way to get noticed in a crowded Democratic primary. Who is he? He's the mayor of a town in Indiana. Now, where is the front line? Where's the front line for voters, James? Indiana, Pennsylvania, right?
Real quick, because most people will have no idea where the hell South Bend, Indiana is. It's literally 30 minutes from Chicago. So Chicago politics is still in play here. Gary, Indiana is like right next door. Like South Bend it's very close to Chicago. Just keep that in mind.
Buttigieg polls at 0%, James, as in zero, nada, nothing among Democrats, both nationally and in the early nominating states. Remember, Donald Trump was at less than 1% for the first few months of his run as well. The problem is not unique to Buttigieg, as everyone from former Rep. John Delaney to Kirsten Gillibrand can attest. The former launched his presidential campaign 18 months ago. Like Buttigieg, fails to crack the margin of error in most national polls. The latter is a powerful senator from New York, yet sits at just 1% in the Morning Consult survey and no longer even merits a mention on Real Clear Politics 2020 aggregate page that runs nearly a dozen names deep. Everyone outside the top tier faces the same immediate problem. How do you stand out in a year when the Democratic field is so deep and wide? Look at this. Buttigieg's predicament is particularly illustrative. If elected, here you go, the former, the former Rhodes Scholar and Navy veteran. Straight away, right? That's midterm strategy right there. Rhodes Scholar, Navy veteran. He appeals to blue-collar voters as well, right? He's from working class Indiana, James. And he talks, he's got just the right mix of common person language. Not only that, he would be the nation's youngest president and its first openly gay one. He appeals to the LGBT crowd. He appeals to millennial voters. And millennial voters are, growing every single year. More and more people are coming of voting age, and the Democrats know this. It's important. I was reading a quote from him the other day. He was talking about politics, and he said, well, I can't lie to people because if there's a pothole and I don't fix the pothole, I can't come out and bullshit people about why it's not getting fixed because I'll get bashed over the head until it's fixed. And I thought, this is a Democrat guy, and it's just the right mix of blue collar language. He also said, I've grown up as an openly gay man in Indiana. I can deal with bullies, right? So he's prepping the ground there. It's very smart stuff, even though he's only on zero. But here's the other thing too. His personal politics, if you look into this guy, I won't read the whole article. His personal politics, ultra progressive, right? He wants to stack the courts. He believes in the Green New Deal. He wants gun control. So guess what? He can unite all the socialist crazies as well, right? So the people who are pushing. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah, you heard what you just said, though, right? He's the guy. Why was it in the other article in the New York Times? Stack the courts. He's the fucking guy.
Yep.
This is where this is coming from. This is what they're doing. See, this is why you and I make those connections, right? Is because these are the people. If you look, they always have a track record. One thing is setting up the other thing. So you get a New York Times article out there talking about stacking the courts as a general for all of these big name Democrats. And it adds credibility to this guy, this no-name mayor from South Bend, Indiana. This is what they try to do. This is how they move things.
Yep. And as they push, the public conversation further to the left, he's already there. But at the same time, Navy veteran who speaks in blue-collar tongue, who from a working-class town in Indiana, right? So he can talk about, like, the blue-collar issues in where, James? The blue wall states. The blue wall states. He's right up there, right? He's right around the corner. So he can appeal to that, and he can unite all of the socialist crazies. The socialist crazies who say Bernie Sanders is too old, they'll like him, right? The socialist crazies who say Kamala Harris is too divisive down there in California, they'll like him, okay? So it's things like this that I'm on the lookout for. And like I said, Navy veteran, right? That's such a midterm style playbook that they're doing here. Like, keep an eye out for this guy. It might amount to nothing, don't get me wrong. But if you're looking for a dark horse, this is the kind of shit we're talking about. Broad spectrum appeal.
Yeah, not to toot your horn, but you called that exact same play long before the exact same kind of guy won in Pennsylvania. Yep. You called that exact same play out 6 months before it happened, and that's exactly what happened. And it was exactly this kind of play. And this is what these guys do. This is why I said, again, thank God for Donald Trump. Thank God for Brad Parscale. And we need to do our job on social media, because without them continually driving the focus, I saw the question in our chat, is there any Dem not for the Green New Deal? No. The answer to that question is absolutely 120,000% no. They are all for the Green New Deal. You want to know why? Because the Green New Deal goes all the way back to like 1973. I think it's 1973. Climate change, global warming, it's all the same old bullshit. Every single time you have 10 years left to live, and at the end of that 10 years, they'll rewrap it, repackage it, and then you get another 10 years to live, and then you rewrap it, repackage it, and now instead of 10 years, we got 12 years to live. It's all the same bullshit. But you have to pay attention to the fact that there's new voters, and there's always more new voters that will buy into the bullshit.
Correct.
Because they don't have the experience enough to know that it's bullshit. Because everybody wants a better life. Everybody. We all want a better life, even if it's no longer for us. Even if that better life that we want is for our children. Whenever the case may be, everybody wants a better life. You have to be smart enough to know what is truly going to lead to a better life and what is a bunch of political bullshit. This is why we have to fight every day to fucking point out that occasional Cortex's Green New Deal, the cost is $93 trillion.
Crumbs.
That's an impossible number.
Crumbs.
It's more money than the planet has. In order to get it'll cost more food and resources than the entire planet is capable of generating. And they say the cost doesn't matter.
Well,
I mean,
James,
this absurdity again.
Maybe. Well, I guess then, in order to enact the Green New Deal, we're just going to have to take over the world. Yay, socialism! Woo! There was a comment in the chat, James. He's only a mayor. Yeah, I know. It doesn't matter. It's look how the paradigm has shifted now. Donald Trump wasn't even a mayor. Ocasio-Cortez was a fucking bartender when she got elected. The days of having the would you say the political apprenticeship, James, of starting in the local, going through the council, becoming the mayor, becoming the congressman, then becoming the senator. If anything, that's going to harm you in the future, because people have never been so untrusting of their politicians as they are right now. So they're actually looking for people outside the box. They don't want the career politicians anymore on a broad scale. They want exactly opposite. And that's why people like this Buttigieg guy, for even as small as he is, even though he's just a mayor, that's precisely why he's dangerous. Precisely. Here's another one for you, James, just before we get to the hammering. I love these little moments of honesty from these publications. The Guardian, James. Trump is wrong about the wall, but he might have picked the right fight. Congratulations. We told you. We told you. You know, I remember James a few episodes ago going, Donald Trump is going to ram the wall right up your ass. Now they've figured it out. They're shifting uncomfortably in their seats, James. The president's own lawyer shows his power grab to be unconstitutional, but this is purely a political gambit. The battle over Donald Trump's emergency declaration has escalated. Last Monday, 16 states sued the president over what they see as an unconstitutional and unlawful, quote, diversion of federal funds toward construction of a border wall. Their opposition to the president's latest dictate is well funded. Taking a page from the playbook of Trump's personal lawyer, Jay Sekulow, who once called Obama's use of executive power, quote, tyrannical, the plaintiffs compared Trump's power grab to Harry S. Truman's unconstitutional steel mill seizure during the Korean War. Now it appears a third of the money Trump wanted to redirect for the wall has already been spent. It is a comedy of errors almost. It is likely Trump's move will not prove politically fatal. To be sure, more than 6 in 10 Americans disapprove of the president's declaration, 57% viewing it as an abuse of executive authority. But even if the president's opponents were ultimately to prevail in court, their victory would not be a knockout. Rather, in the face of changing demographics and an uncertain economy, Trump's stance on wall funding and immigration is a defiant gambit. It failed in the midterms, but it still resonates with many of his supporters. The immigrant population is nearing a record high. Almost 14%, more than 44 million people in the United States were born elsewhere. The fertility rate is at a 40-year fertility low. The economy appears to be creaking. Just on that, the fertility rate, you mentioned earlier Ocasio-Cortez saying it's now immoral to have children. Well, that ship has already sailed. If you take out the specifically the Hispanic population from the United States births and deaths statistics, Americans aren't having enough children to replace themselves. I think if you take out the Hispanic population, and so you're just talking about, everybody else except Hispanics, I think the reproduction rate is like 1.7. With Hispanics, it's like 2.1.
Let me interrupt because I'll forget to make this point later, is because this is dead on, is that the whole point of the socialist agenda that the fucking left was forcing on our country,
population control.
Exactly. It was population control because Republicans are fucking smart enough to not have kids they can't afford to raise. And they restricted our ability to produce because we're not having kids we can't afford to feed. And they did the same thing to the left through Planned Parenthood and all these welfare payments, separating the home. And it was all by design. This is, again, what we've been saying over and over and over again. These fuckers were trying to destroy the United States, and they almost fucking succeeded. Thank God for Donald Trump. That's why we're going to be back on the road. That's why we've got people going to have kids that they probably wouldn't normally have, right? I mean, we're older. Most older people are ready to retire. Now those older people are going to start thinking about, you know what? We have to fucking fix our country. We have to have more kids. We have to do the right thing by the next generation. These things are going to start turning the corner. And the young people, not the crazy ones, the good ones, that next generation, not the millennials, but Generation Z, they're going to pick up some slack in a serious way. You're going to start going back to, I'm sorry to say this because this is just a joke in a way, but it's very, enlightening, right? You always in the past, when I was a kid, you would say, well, they got 7 kids? Oh, they must be Catholic. Or in the right regions, you would say, oh, they must be Mormons, right? Because Catholics and Mormons they just love having 8, 9 kids. I could not understand having 8 kids. I can barely handle the 3 I got. But that's the point, right? That's where we have to go. We have to move along those directions.
Yes, and so I volunteer my services. Just send me an email and I'll be right over. I'm not going to do any of the daddy stuff though. I'm not going to do any of the dad shit. I'm going I'm going to plant my seed and move on very quickly. So.
Stud services only.
But that's right. And so you need to abort your babies and import more workers, right? Like that makes sense, doesn't it? To put things in perspective, James, the US adopted national origin-based immigration quotas in 1924, a time when the foreign-born figure exceeded 12%, lower than today. There is no reason to assume sentiments voiced nearly a century ago will not drive the conversation again as they did in 2016. Here's the rub. Trump's hard line is winning converts, James. Remember, this is the known right-wing spruiking website, The Guardian. In Iowa, support for the president and the wall has crept up. 46% of Iowans give Trump a thumbs up. Why is Iowa important? A little thing called the presidential race. Just a little thing known as, driving the conversation for a presidential campaign, right? That's why Iowa matters, isn't it? His highest approval rating since his inauguration. 37% of Iowans unconditionally back the wall, a 7-point jump since 2018. James, in your Periscope earlier today, you were talking about, only 33% of people voted in the presidential campaign. That's staggering. But the upside of that is if only 33% of people are voting, then 37% unconditionally backing a wall or 50% backing a wall, that means a lot, right? When only 33% of people are actually voting in the first place. Because it doesn't take much then support on top of that to really romp home, like to really kick ass in a campaign. Because there's a lot of extra votes that you can win there along the way, right? Nationally, the president's approval deficit is only in the single digits. Trump has picked himself off the floor after the shutdown drama, James. He has brought the conversation back to social flashpoints as opposed to merely demonstrating callous ineptitude daily for 5 straight weeks. There you go. They're admitting. The wall is working. It's working. And timing is everything. Timing is everything. You don't want to peak too soon. You got to peak at, right at when the vote matters most. That's when you want to be peaking, right at the finals.
Absolutely. You're 100%. Let me clean up some of the chat here real quick. We had some great comments in the chat. Tom Shadowley, our good friend, he said he needs to definitely build a little army of little shit-posting Shadowlays. It's his American duty like Genghis Khan. That was an awesome comment. We got Angela Stable Genius that said, I'll take you up on those stud services. And then right after that said, did Boogie just say, here's the rub? Right after giving up for his stud services. So yeah, you can see where our chat room is. They're all ready for the sperm donations. Listen, I said it a long time ago that Donald Trump was going to shove this wall right up the Democrats' ass, and they're letting him do it, and it's beautiful. And that's exactly what he did here. And this is the rub that those people that write these articles, I'm glad they wrote it because now we can talk more about it. Because I don't like to give up things that I think I've figured out because it might help the left. Well, I told you that he was going to shove this wall up their ass. 70% of the people actually agree with him. You get that from the left's own statistics when they did that right after the State of the Union speech. Let's face it, the left made all of immigration conversations about the wall. That's what the mainstream media did. That's what the left did. So the only thing the American population is focused on is the wall. And 70% of the people came out and said, we agree with Donald Trump on his immigration stance. What does that tell you? 70% of the American population agree with the wall. What was the other brilliant thing that Donald Trump did? I was asked a long time ago in one of my scopes, and you may have saw it, was where they asked me, well, when is Donald Trump going to declare the national emergency? My initial reaction at that time was say, well, I'm not going to tell you that. But then I said, you know what? No, I will tell you that. And what I said was he's going to declare the national emergency at the time where he knows that the timing will run to the point where he needs that money. Why did he declare a national emergency now? Here's the rub, pun intended, is that Donald Trump told you he's going to spend over $5 billion building the wall before he would ever need a single dollar out of the money that he declared a national emergency to use. What does that tell you? Do you think he's going to spend $5 billion between now and September? Because that's when the funding bill runs out, is September. Do you think he's actually going to spend $5 billion between now and September? Nope. He hasn't spent $5 billion to date, and it's been 2 years, and he's been getting $1.7 billion a year for it. So, and he's going to get another $1.7 billion for it. So he has to spend over $6-7 billion this year before he would ever need to touch a single dollar. But what is happening right now? What is actually happening is he has now made the left run out and file 72,000 lawsuits. It's in the front page of the press that the left doesn't want the fucking wall that 70% of Americans want. And what do we get to do with that? Donald Trump and the rest of the Republicans get to run on building the motherfucking wall for a second presidential term, and he doesn't even pay a penalty for it not being built from the first time. Why? Because the Dems own the obstruction.
Yep.
It's fucking brilliant.
It really is. It really is. I didn't think he'd have a chance to get reelected if we don't see. And you know what? I still say there needs to be, you know, some kind of imagery of, you know, wall getting built. I don't care if it's like fake moon landing style in a studio somewhere. That'll do. I'll take it. That's fine. You know, like whatever. But there needs to be some kind of imagery floating out there and saying, hey, do you want to finish this job or not? Then vote for me, because we'll get the job done. We'll keep the promise. We'll get it done. James, it's time for the hammering.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I'm not even ready. Off guard, flat-footed.
Stop the hammering.
James, Corey Lewandowski, my Polish friend will crucify me if I call him Lewandowski. Lewandowski. He was on the beat with Ari Melber discussing a recent article in the New York Times, and Ari, I think, is struggling with the important facts in the Robert Mueller investigation. So I wanted to go over it with you and check it out. Let's have a look. After it loads, of course.
New reports that the DOJ does not expect Bob Mueller to finish work by the end of next week. He's going to keep on going, and any moment, Mueller will make his last major filing against Paul Manafort as local prosecutors in New York look at state charges against him. So with me are two people with deep knowledge of the law and some of the players here. Richard Painter, a former chief White House ethics lawyer under President George W. Bush, who's run for office as a...
This Richard Painter guy, he's become the new Michael Avenatti. He's on all the channels all the time, just letting you know.
Democrat, and Corey Lewandowski, former campaign manager for Donald Trump. I should mention...
Time out. He said that so fast, most of you are going to forget this, so I'm going to fucking highlight it. He said that dipshit is a lawyer that worked for Bush, but ran as a Democrat.
Yes.
This is not a fucking Bushy. This is a lefty.
Well, at best, at worst, he's a lefty. At best, he's a careerist who will just go with whatever side at the particular time to make the most of his career. And which is something I've said about Rod Rosenstein for a long time too. People are, you know, this argument about Rod Rosenstein, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? It always seemed rather silly to me. He's a lifelong bureaucrat who would align himself with whoever is in the ascendancy at the time to further his own career. He might be a bad guy who sometimes does good things, or a good guy who sometimes does bad things. But, you know, in terms of black and white, good guy, bad guy, I think that conversation's redundant. That's not how bureaucrats like him operate generally.
Corey's been interviewed by the House and Senate Intelligence Committees, has not been interviewed by the Mueller team, and Lewandowski was also at the White House this week. A couple folks with all kinds of White House access. Thanks to both of you for doing this on a big night.
Just pay attention to, I know a lot of you guys already know this stuff because you've been watching this show for a while, but a little side note, just pay attention to the setup questions that Ari throws at the two different people. It's going to be minimizing and mocking to Corey Lewandowski, and it's going to be all respect, throw out the red carpet, may I wipe your ass, sir, to Richard Painter.
Thank you.
Well,
Corey, my pleasure.
With loads of White House access, as in current.
Yeah.
This dipshit on the left somehow has current access to Donald Trump. Like, that's the thing he's trying to say. Like, this guy would not be allowed within 1,000 yards of Donald Trump for fear that he might fucking lose his toupee.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even he's laughing at the thought of it. Look, he can't. He's like, oh, really? Thanks, Ari.
Corey, big New York Times story alleging all kinds of evidence of obstruction by your old boss, Donald Trump. Do you view this story as important And do you think it's problematic that the New York Times has sources there for the story reporting?
I know this point has been made by a lot of people, and I know Dan Bongino, for one, has been really strong on this, but you can't stress it enough how ridiculous this is. A New York Times story alleging all sorts of obstruction. You mean obstruction of the investigation that's still going now? That's a mighty fine obstruction there. There is what obstruction? If the investigation is still going, then there cannot be any obstruction of justice, correct? Or no? Like, what am I missing here?
That Donald Trump called you and asked you to help oust Jeff Sessions.
It's this false reality that these people create around themselves. And, you know, like, too many people just lap this shit up. Like thirsty dogs lapping up the rhetorical sewage that's bubbling away in a Democratic toilet somewhere in San Francisco. You know what I mean? The turds of misinformation, James, being swallowed regularly. Like,
I want to address a chat question real quick, because one of our good friends in here, Michelle SoCal, she said, well, compared to me, he has loads. She was referring to the access that this dipshit has. No, Michelle, actually, believe it or not, you have loads more access than that fuckstick. Why? Because you're being paid attention to right here on this program, on Pirate Radio, and on Ladies of Liberty. We know for a fact that members of the administration pay attention to you. So you do have White House access. It's in your comments. You comment on the president's timeline. You comment on shows like this. And I know for a fact people are paying attention. I mean, look, there's literally a sitting senator that wrote us a fucking email to ask us to stop fucking with him. We said, oh, you thought we fucked with you before? Today I'm going to say, fuck you, Lamar. And what happened? He wrote us another fucking email. So trust me, when senators are going to send you emails, I didn't appreciate you telling me to go fuck myself. Yeah, guess what, Lamar? Fuck you.
And just for the sake of legal expediency, James, I myself, as a foreign agent, have no connection to the White House whatsoever. I just want to put that out there. I do, however, you'll be pleased to know, though, I do, however, have access to the most charming man in Hollywood, Ryan Seacrest, my co-host. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you.
Problematic that the New York Times has sources there for the story reporting that Donald Trump called you and asked you to help oust Jeff Sessions in the middle of this probe.
Well, I think this, I think that we have seen time and time again mainstream media outlets getting stories wrong. And I can tell you unequivocally that I didn't speak to the New York Times for the story. They didn't validate any of the facts about me for the story with me. Look, that's not to say everything in the story is wrong.
Understood, but let's get, you might be making a little news here on a busy night.
Okay, you might be making a little news here on a busy night. Let's see what Ari Melber defines as news.
They say something that makes Trump look bad and makes you look okay. It doesn't say you did anything wrong. It says Trump called you over July 4th weekend, asked you to oust Sessions, and you were non-committal. Did you get that call?
Here's the other thing, too, that these people don't understand. Do you see the trick that they're trying to do here? This is how you wedge surrogates away from the person that they are a surrogate for. So you write an article that makes the surrogate look good. If they defend the article that makes them look good, it's going to, by proxy, make the person that they defend look bad. And Ari Melber is just reminding him of that. He's saying, no, don't you see? If you just say that you did the right thing, then we can make Trump look like an asshole. Aren't you playing the game? Come on, Corey. Most people would just say, well, of course, like I wouldn't say anything about Jeff Sessions, right? I would never argue to get Jeff Sessions kicked out, but then not realizing that the only reason that they're printing this bullshit story in the first place is to make you defend yourself and thus attack Donald Trump by proxy. Do you see what happens here? Do you see how they create these little wedge games? Let's carry on.
Yeah, look, honestly, I have the privilege of speaking to the president on a very regular basis. I don't recall the specific call that they say took place on July 4th. As a matter of fact, they were so specific of the call that my kids were in my truck and we were driving to Dunkin' Donuts on the 4th of July weekend would have been something I remember. And since I polled my 4 children, they don't remember that either. They usually remember when the president calls. So not to say it's fake news, but I think I would have remembered that conversation.
That's interesting. Let's put it up. Let's deal with this. The New York Times says Trump called Lewandowski over 4th of July weekend to ask him to pressure Sessions to resign. Lewandowski was non-committal, never acted on the request. It doesn't mention Dunkin' Donuts. Why are you bringing up Dunkin' Donuts? That makes...
Can you rewind it a little bit, just a tiny bit, until that other dipshit's back on the screen? Just a bit. I just want to point something out because you paused it at a perfect moment, and I had a microphone issue. But I want everybody to look at Dudley dipshit over here on the left. Tell me that not look like the guy from when every single Scooby-Doo episode when they pulled the mask off. Oh, good Jenkins! It's Mr. Witherspoon. It's fucking hilarious.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you dastardly Dunkin' Donuts kids.
I would have got away with it if it wasn't for your Dunkin' Donuts.
It doesn't mention Dunkin' Donuts. Why are you bringing up Dunkin' Donuts? That makes it sound like you do remember something specific.
What? do you see the desperate, like, do you see the mindlessness of it? You know, once you're out of the spin cycle of the corporate press, once you get out of the bubble and you're outside looking in, you know, and you're wiping the bubble down because it's very foggy in there because they're all having sex with each other and taking drugs and stuff, and you wipe down the outside of the bubble, the condensation, and you peer in, and you see this madness for what it is. Corey Lewandowski, whether it's true or not, is probably irrelevant at this point. But the reasoning is that I would have remembered a call from the president because I was in my truck driving to Dunkin' Donuts with my children. I would have remembered that because I remember what I was doing on that day. Ari Melba says, why are you bringing up Dunkin' Donuts? It sounds like you remember.
This is the guy that's just like that fucking congresswoman who thought that she had trapped Matthew Whitaker, which is like, I got him. Oh, wait, I don't have shit. This is the same fucking thing. These guys like, look, he's telling you said this date. On this date, I was with my kids all fucking day in the family minivan. We were going to fucking Annapolis, and we went to fucking Dunkin' Donuts. So I would have remembered if I would have got a call because my kids were bouncing off the fucking ceiling screaming, and I was in the back yelling, don't make me come back there.
Exactly. Maybe he couldn't hear the phone over the sound of the kids screaming for chocolate milkshakes, James.
Yeah, I don't. Look, again, I have a very, very special privilege, which is talking to the president on a fairly regular basis. And I don't disclose those conversations, but I will tell you this. I don't ever remember the president ever asking me to get involved with Jeff Sessions or the Department of Justice in any way, shape, or form ever.
So you're saying it didn't happen on a July 4th drive to Dunkin' Donuts. The article doesn't mention Dunkin' Donuts. But
why does he care so much about Dunkin' fucking Donuts? Like, Ari legitimately thinks in his MSNBC infused brain that he has unearthed some kind of bombshell here. Like, you know, hey, why would he mention Dunkin' Donuts? This proves that he took a call from Donald Trump, because why else would he mention that he was going to Dunkin' Donuts? And he can't get past it.
If you're disputing that, have you called the Times and told him that?
What? Why should he call the Times? Why should he call the Times? If they write something wrong, it's not Corey Lewandowski's job to call up the New York Times and say, I was at fucking Dunkin' Donuts. You don't know what you're talking about. That's not the way it works.
No, you're literally the only person who has raised this Times newspaper story with me, and I think it's...
Bombshell news. Bombshell, James. You might be creating some news here, Corey. Oh, my God, you're on your way to Dunkin' Donuts. Why are you mentioning Dunkin' Donuts? Corey Lewandowski, you are literally the only person who's mentioned this to me.
2 or 3 days old. I didn't get one incoming call from one media outlet about what was...
Say again.
There's a great comment in the chat. Corey Lewandowski was paid for product placement for Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes. Yes, and it's a lot better than Subway's PR team, I tell you.
It was written about me in that story,
well, look,
so I didn't have to call and tell him because nobody else called me.
It's very interesting you're denying a story that doesn't even make you look bad, makes Trump look bad. The Times has their reasons for reporting it. I give Richard Painter a bite at the apple. Go ahead.
It's very interesting you're denying a story that makes Trump look bad. Yes, that's very interesting. Very interesting, Ari. Oh, my God. Let's see what'd you call him? Dudley Do-Right? Dudley Do-Right. Let's see what he's got to say.
Well, I don't know about obstruction of justice in the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot or anything.
That's fucking great. He fucking literally sounds like Mr. Witherspoon. Oh, wow. I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
Else about this story specifically, but the New York Times gets the stories right about 90% of the time, 95% of the time.
Oh, okay.
But I can assure you that Robert Mueller is going to get the story right 99% of the time, 100% of the time. And he's...
Right. I can assure you that Robert Mueller is not even present. He's already written his report, and guess what, dipshit? Ask Adam Schiff. There ain't shit in it.
Well, this is the beautiful part coming up here, James. You know how certain people in the press have been saying, Adam Schiff said, if Donald Trump doesn't make this fully public, then we're going to sue him to get it. Do you think that if there is nothing in it, that Donald Trump will make it public? Because there's other people in the Trump sphere who have been saying, yes, we want to make it public, like unredacted. Because of late, it's actually been the Democrat side of the House who have been redacting things and trying to stop things from getting out, right? You know, they want to leak on their terms, correct? So if the Mueller report is as, you know, unconsequential as many suspect it will be, I'm sure that Donald Trump will have no hesitation in putting it out there. And if they know, which I suspect top Democrats do know, that there's not going to be much in the Mueller report, which is why they're now shifting to obstruction of justice instead of collusion. If they know that Donald Trump is going to release it, if they know if they know the AG is going to make it available to everybody, and if they know that there's nothing damaging in there, how do you still own it? How do you still look like you're in control? You come out and make demands that the people do exactly what they're going to do anyway, and you try to own it on your terms, right?
I'm gonna break a fucking. This is a nugget. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. You watch. So, I want the left to continue with this crazy narrative that we need to see the Robert Mueller report. And I want everybody on the right to say, you can't see it, motherfucker. And then that's the pressure point, because what's actually going to happen is exactly what I predicted would happen 2 years ago when all this drama started. I said, every time they brought it up, Mueller is not going to be fired. I've said it every fucking time, no matter who else has contradicted that. I have said, Mueller is not going to get fired. I've said it on Your Voice America, and I've said it on every single one of my Ryan Seacrest shows. I have said Robert Mueller is not going to get fired, and he will, at the end of this, be forced to exonerate Donald Trump in his own words. Now, why is everybody making such a big stink about the fact that the actual special counsel's regulations state that he has to turn his report in to the AG, and it is up to the AG, which is William Barr, to release whatever the fuck he wants to release or release nothing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the caveat that keeps Robert Mueller from being able to write some crazy bullshit in that report. But as long as he plays by the rules and as long as he plays it straight, William Barr is going to take the actual report and say, okay, you fucksticks, you wanted it? Here it is. And in Robert Mueller's own words, he will have said, no fucking collusion.
Yep. Before, when Jeff Sessions recused himself, James, that wasn't a threat. That wasn't on the table, was it? With Jeff Sessions in place, because it goes down to Rod Rosenstein. And Rod Rosenstein would have redacted any parts that make Donald Trump look good, or at least clear his name, right? I think the word is exculpatory evidence. So they would have kept that out of the public sphere and only printed the parts that you can, draw inferences and insinuations from to paint Donald Trump in a bad light. Now that Sessions is gone and AG Barr is in, and AG Barr won't have a bar of it, pardon the pun, and he might just, because that threat is there now, all of a sudden Robert Mueller's like, well, shit, we've just lost that play.
Closing in on this, and we're going to find out very soon whether the President of the United States is going to be criminally charged with obstruction of justice, or whether the
See, changing it to obstruction of justice, James. Changing it. Changing the story. What happened to collusion? What happened to collusion, Richard? Yeah, listen here, see? Yeah, we're going to charge you with obstruction of justice, see? Yeah.
Counsel has enough evidence to charge him criminally, but the decision is made in the Department of Justice that we cannot because he's a sitting president, in which case this is turned over to the United States House of Representatives Judiciary Committee.
Yeah, let's talk about that,
this
Richard.
If they take,
say, what's in the Times article, which, again, Lewandowski...
If you watch Corey Lewandowski, he has to bite on a lemon to keep from smiling. He's like, I can't believe what I'm fucking hearing here. Listen to this guy. Look at him. He's trying not to smile. He's trying not to laugh. If anyone knows the setup play here, it would be Lewandowski, right? Trump really trusts Lewandowski, I think, and he really likes him, even though he, let him go from the campaign. I still think that Lewandowski might be some kind of a confidant. I'm not sure. Like, that's just my opinion. I've got nothing to back it up. But it seems that Trump really likes Lewandowski, and Lewandowski's a pretty strong surrogate for Donald Trump, too, on all of these little media shows. So let's keep going with Corey.
Is disputing, but they take that kind of material and the other public information and the other leaks that Trump allegedly sought to get Don McGahn to fire Mueller, to intercede, the Mike Flynn. If none of that is an indictment, then what do you think the Mueller report looks like in getting that information out?
Well, that would be obstruction of
Corey.
justice, a continuation of
that would be an obstruction of justice. No, it wouldn't. Look, watch Corey here. Sorry?
This guy's a dipshit. He supposedly he's a lawyer, but lawyers are literally like, I think that it's actually the modern spelling of lawyer is L-I-A-R, because these guys lie for a living. That's all they fucking do. But it would not be obstruction of justice for a simple fact. The Justice Department is not separate from the executive branch according to the Constitution. Therefore, it is not an independent agency. Therefore, the executive branch is in charge of the Department of Justice, and by that very nature, cannot obstruct itself. It is allowed to do whatever the fuck it wants, which is why we got ass fucked and raped by goddamn Obama. These people are fucking retarded. They can't read basic 6th grade English in the Constitution.
They're not retarded, James. They're leaning on the retardation of their audience. That's what's happening here. Yeah. They're creating an unthinking army of repeaters, automatons, who go out there and go, "This obstruction of justice. Oh, he's a fascist, he's a racist, obstruction of justice." Oh. That's the point of this stuff.
Pattern that goes.
But watch Corey here.
Goes back to the pressure on James Comey and the firing of James Comey. President Trump has been trying to obstruct this investigation since day one. I don't know if President Trump...
Wait, obstruct the investigation? Here's another thing, too. Remember they said the investigation was not about Donald Trump? Remember how they said he's not under investigation? Donald Trump has been trying to obstruct the investigation since day one. Since day one, this has not been anything to do with Donald Trump. What? What? No, obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice.
Is a Russian mole or not, but he's certainly acting like one.
Sorry, say again.
If it weren't for you meddling kids, we would have got away with it.
And he just said, I don't know if Donald Trump is a Russian mole or not, but he's certainly acting like one.
He's been trying to derail the Mueller investigation.
Look at Corey. Look at Corey laughing.
You can't. How can you not laugh? These are the same fucking idiots that right now on this program they're saying Donald Trump. I don't know. He might be a Russian mole. On the very next program after this, they're going to say Donald Trump might get us into a nuclear war with Russia. What? How?
Truth doesn't matter, James. Reality is fluid.
Investigation. This is a critically important investigation for our national security to find out who has been collaborating with the Russians, and President Trump has sought to obstruct it every step of the way.
And Corey, for your rebuttal, Corey, what do you see coming down the pike from this report, and will you abide by the findings that Mueller has if they're not good for your boss?
Oh, Lord Mueller, will you abide by the doctrines that Lord Mueller has set forth? He's the new, what was that guy's name in the Mormon church? Is it Joseph Smith, James? You know, the word of Robert Mueller has been sent down to us here on earth, and we shall abide by the doctrines of Robert S. Mueller III. Robert S. Mueller. He cannot be contradicted. We cannot go against what Robert Mueller says.
He's a graduate of Princeton. How could you ever deny the graduate of Princeton his just due?
Exactly.
Well, I think first and foremost, and maybe you all agree with it, we should absolutely make this report public. Everybody should have the opportunity to review the full report. We've spent $40 million.
That Richard Painter's eyes just got a little bit wider when Corey said we should absolutely make the report public. Painter was like, what? I wasn't expecting that.
Dollars on this report so far. So let's see what it says, because you can't have it both ways. I think this report is going to show there was no collusion, no cooperation, no coordination between the Trump campaign and the Russians. And the only campaign that coordinated was the Clinton campaign. And no one wants to talk about that. And if there was Russian interference in the 2016 election, why is it that Barack Obama and Comey and Clapper aren't held responsible? Because they were the ones in charge of the government at the time.
Where's your fucking Dunkin' Donuts now, Ari Melba? Hey, where's your Dunkin' Donuts? You see, the problem is it won't be Corey Lewandowski demands justice for Obama, being presiding over a government that was, being engaged by Russian interference. That won't be the headline. The headline will be Corey Lewandowski claims he was at Dunkin' Donuts when taking a call from the president. You know what I mean? There's your bombshell hammering, ladies and gentlemen. Dunkin' Donuts style.
Stop the hammering.
What a fucking show. What a great hammering that was. And just to clean up some of the chat was all over it. Russia apparently owns the majority stock through secret agents and backroom deals. They actually own Dunkin' Donuts, and they are sending cryptic control messages to the president of the United States through the liquefied icing. You have to take the icing, you have to melt it, and then you have to use a special compound in order to get the control messages from Putin. It's just an excellent show. I love you guys. He loves you guys. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Real Person, PLTCS. If you want to follow him, you can follow him at Boogie Bumper. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at TAV Show, and you can find all of our prior episodes on TAVshow.com. Take care. We'll see you next week. And just to clean up this bullshit, this was just a one-time deal Monday night. We will be back next week on Sunday. The polar ice caps have been melted and installed into Boogie Bumper's studio, so we won't have this problem next week.
Chile.